Lawrence Kohlberg, 1958, agreed with Piaget's 1932 theory of moral development in principle but wanted to develop his ideas further. He used Piaget's storytelling technique to tell people stories involving moral dilemmas. In each case, he presented a choice to be considered, for example, between the rights of some authority and the needs of some deserving individual who is being unfairly treated. One of the best known of Kohlberg, 1958, stories concerns a man called Heinz who lived somewhere in Europe. Heinz's wife was dying from the particular type of cancer. Doctors said a new drug might save her. The drug had been discovered by a local chemist and the Heinz tried desperately to buy some, but the chemist was charging 10 times the money it costs to make the drug, and this was much more than the Heinz could afford. The Heinz could only raise half the money, even after help from the family and friends. He explained to the chemist that his wife was dying and asked if he could have the drug cheaper or pay the rest of the money later. The chemist refused, saying that he had discovered the drug and was going to make money from it. The husband was desperate to save his wife, so later that night he broke into the chemist and stole the drug. Kohlberg asked a series of questions such as: Number 1, should Heinz have stolen the drug? Number 2, would it change anything if Heinz did not love his wife? 3. What if the person dying was a stranger? Would it make any difference? 4. Should the police arrest the chemist for murder if the woman did? By studying the answer from children of different ages to these questions, Kohlberg hoped to discover how moral reasoning changes as people grow older. The sample comprised 72 Chicago boys aged 10 to 16 years, 8 of whom were followed up at 3-yearly intervals for 20 years. Each boy was given a 2-hour interview based on the 10 dilemmas. What Kohlberg was mainly interested in was not whether the boys judged the action right or wrong, but the reasons given for the decisions. He found that these reasons tended to change as the children got older. Kohlberg identified 3 distinct levels of moral reasoning: pre-conventional and post-conventional. Each level has 2 sub-stages. People can only pass through this level in the order listed. Each new stage replaces the reasoning typical of the early stage. Not everyone achieves all the stage. Level 1, Pre-conventional morality. At the pre-conventional level, most 9-year-olds and younger, some of over 9, we don't have a personal code of morality. Instead, our moral code is shaped by the standards of adults and the consequences of the following or breaking their rules. Authority is outside the individual and reasoning is based on the physical consequences of actions. Stage 1. Obedience and punishments orientation. The child individual is good in order to avoid being punished. If a person is punished, they must have done wrong. Stage 2. Individualism and exchange. At this stage, children recognize that there is not just one right view that is handed down by the authorities. Different individuals have different viewpoints. Level 2. Conventional morality. At the conventional level, most adolescents and adults, we begin to internalize the moral standards of value adult role models. Authority is internalized but not questioned, and reasoning is based on the normal of the group to which the person belongs. Stage 3. Good interpersonal relationships. The child individual is good in order to be seen as being a good person by others. Therefore, answers relate to the approval of others. Stage 4. Maintaining the social order. The child individual becomes aware of the wider rules of society, so judgment concern obeying the rules in order to uphold the law and to avoid guilt. Level 3. Post-conventional morality. Individual judgment is based on the self-choosing principles, and moral reasoning is based on individual rights and justice. According to Kohlberg, this level of moral reasoning is as most people get. Only 10 to 15% are capable of the kind of abstract thinking necessary for stage 5 or 6. Post-conventional morality, that is to say, most people take their moral views from those around them and only a morality think through ethical principles for themselves. Stage 5. Social contract and individual rights. The child individuals becomes aware that while rules, laws might exist for the good of the greatest number, there are times when they will work against the interests of particular individuals. The issue are not always clear-cut. For example, in Heinz dilemma, the protection of life is more important than breaking the law against stealing. Stage 6. Universal Principles. People at this stage have developed their own set of moral guidelines which may or may not fit the law. The principle apply to everyone. Human rights, justice, and equality. The person will be prepared to act to defend these principles, even means going against the rest of society in the process and having to pay the consequences of disapproval and or imprisonment. Kohlberg, though few people reaches this stage. Problems with Kohlberg's methods. 1. The dilemmas are artificial, i.e. they lack ecological validity. Most of the dilemmas are unfamiliar to most people who since 1980, for example. It is all very well in the Heinz dilemma asking subjects whether Heinz should steal the drug to save his wife. However, Kohlberg's subjects were aged between 10 and 16. They have never been married and never been placed in a situation remotely like the one in the story. How should they know whether Heinz should steal the drug? 2. Example of based according to Gilligan 1977 because Kohlberg theory was based on an all-male sample. The stage reflect a male definition of morality. It's and recentric means morality is based on abstract principles of law and justice, while women's is based on principles of compassion and care. Further, the gender bias issue raised by Gilligan is a reminder of the significant gender debate still present in psychology, which, when ignored, can have a large impact on the results obtained through psychological research. 3. The dilemmas are hypothetical. They are not real. In a real situation but course of action a person take will have real consequences and sometimes very unpleasant ones for themselves. Will subject reason in the same way if they were placed in a real situation we just don't know. The fact that Kohlberg's theory is heavily dependent on an individual's response to an artificial dilemma brings questions to the validity of the result obtained through this research. People may respond very differently to real-life situations that they find themselves in than they do with an artificial dilemma presented to them in the comfort of a research environment.